Mm. Hey guys, it's been almost a month since we came back from our Vietnam trip, and I really miss the place. Vietnam was a crazy adventure with lots of lessons and lots of things to learn. So today, I want to share with you 6 things that I learned from my Vietnam trip. But before we get into that, we need a costume change. Excuse me. Alrighty. Oh, these pants are tight. Alright guys, so you've just landed in Vietnam. The first thing that you realize is it's really hot. That's to be expected. The second thing that you probably realize is that everywhere you look, there's hustle and bustle and things are friggin' hectic. So from the bustling streets and the marketplaces to just scooters everywhere, people riding and driving on the wrong side of the road, people walking on the road because the sidewalk isn't as well maintained. There's a lot going on, and if you're going to Vietnam, chances are that you also want to jump on a scooter and scoot around from place to place. So I've come up with a few tips for you guys on how to navigate the roads and be safe. Number 1, no one gives way unless you're already going. So whenever you go up to an intersection, or if you're going to turn a corner and there's other cars or scooters in front of you, even if you don't have right of way, you just have to be confident. You pick your line and you go. People will see you and they might honk at you or they might swear at you, but if they see you going, they'll give you way or they'll go around you. You're fine. So yeah, people don't give way unless you are going. Number 2, a 2-lane road for cars can also be a 7-lane highway for scooters. Now think about it. You've got your 2 scooters. You've got your 2 cars, right? You can fit 2 scooters in each road. You can fit 1 scooter in between the cars. You can also fit 2 scooters on either side. So if you are scootering yourself, don't freak out if someone goes into your lane, even if a car goes into your lane. And as a scooter, just realize you have this maneuverability. On that note, if you are nervous as a rider, then my recommendation is to just ride slowly and hug the curb. Like, honestly, people are gonna go around you. Something I've realized is that in Vietnam, you don't cause inconveniences like you do in like Australia. Like if you're in the wrong lane and people honk at you, you feel like an idiot. But in Vietnam, they don't care. Some people go on the sidewalk to go around you. It's no drama. It's just everyday life for them. Tip number 3, beeping. So in Western culture, you beep at someone to basically say F you. Like that's how you express your road rage. That's not how it is in Southeast Asia. Definitely not how it is in Vietnam. In Vietnam, you beep just to say I am here. Like just to let other people know I am here. Make it a habit. Each time you cross an intersection, or if you see a car, or if you ride past a pedestrian, just beep, beep, beep. It's not rude. Everyone else is doing it. You want to be that scooter that is seen and is heard. You don't want to be that scooter or that rider who is sort of darting around in people's blind spots, because that's the scooter that's going to get crashed. And finally, oh my gosh, for the love of God, do not stop. Do not stop ever. So you know how I said people will give way as long as you're going? The worst thing you could do is turn, see someone in front of you and stop, or to hesitate, or to just veer off. You want to be predictable. Like even if you're not doing the right thing, maintain your course, go slow, go steady and pray. Like just, if there's one thing that riding in Vietnam has taught me, is how to be assertive. If you want to turn, you turn. Just go slowly. You want to be predictable. You don't want to be like a deer in the headlights and darting around, because again, that's confusing for everyone in front of you and also behind you. The moment you stop, they're not going to give way to you. So they're just going to keep going and you're going to be stuck there forever. So yeah, final tip. I know it's scary, but don't stop. Just go. Oh man, if anyone out there is having a wedding on the beach, please invite me. Alright, let's talk about food. Vietnam, oh my gosh, food everywhere. Food in Vietnam is, look, it's affordable, it's delicious, it's abundant, it is literally on every corner of the street. So, when you first get to Vietnam, you're going to be overwhelmed. There's going to be food everywhere, there's going to be flavors everywhere, it's all going to be a lot. And this is coming from someone who grew up eating Vietnamese food. This is coming from someone who loves Vietnamese food, and like before this trip I thought that I could exclusively eat Vietnamese food and I thought that I could live off it. But not for me. And look, I know that I didn't have the best experience with the food in Vietnam, but I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's a me problem. Like I'm basically like a Labrador. If I see food, I'm gonna want to eat it, and that's what I did, and I suffered. And I know what you guys are thinking. There's so much more to Vietnam. There's so much more to Vietnamese culture than just its food. I get that, but I just want to share my experience. I'm a very food-oriented person, and look, you have to admit, food is a big part of Vietnamese culture. So yeah. Alright, so the best thing about Vietnamese food is how varied it is, the diversity in the cuisine. So in Vietnamese food you can have something that is sweet, and then salty, and then sour, and then spicy, and then umami, and then we start playing with textures. We've got soft, and like crispy, and crunchy, and fatty, and chewy, and gooey. You get the idea. Like I'm actually just talking about one dish here. It's pretty crazy. You also have like your fresh ingredients, like your fresh herbs, and then your fermented things. It's very, very varied. Vietnamese food is going to challenge your taste buds, and it's going to push your palate to the limit. So if you are a foodie, you're really going to enjoy Vietnam. If you are adventurous with what you eat, there's a lot of funky stuff for you to try. If you are like not as adventurous, there's still some dishes which you could try, but you'll be missing out. I'd hate to say, you'll be missing out on a lot of what Vietnamese cuisine has to offer, because a lot of it is the funky stuff. So personally, I started to get sick of Vietnamese food at around day 5 of my trip. And look, this is because I was eating Vietnamese food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all the little snacks in between. If I were to do it again, and this is my tip to you guys, switch it up a little bit, especially if you're in Ho Chi Minh. There's a lot of great Japanese food, great Korean, great Thai food. They're all really popular. So yeah, switch it up a little bit. Don't just go to Vietnamese restaurants. Refresh the palate a little bit. We found some really good Japanese places, and look, they have like really good quality sashimi and really good quality beef, like Wagyu, A5, and it's at Vietnamese price. So while you're there, you might as well. So yeah, just something to bear in mind. So you guys have heard of the saying, same but different, right? So not only is Vietnamese food diverse, it's also regional. So you can get the same dish in 2 different cities, and they'll be vastly different in terms of flavor profile. So what we found was that the food that we had in Da Nang and Hoi An was very, let's say, very punchy with its seasoning. So if it's salty, it's going to be very salty. If it's sweet, it's going to be very sweet. And maybe that added to the reason why I was very overwhelmed with the flavors starting off. It wasn't until we went to Ho Chi Minh where it started to mellow out, and the dishes we found were much more balanced. And when I say balanced, I mean that for every salty element of the dish, there will be something to counteract it. So maybe it was something that was sweet or something that was acidic. So a good example of that would be, let's say you've got some noodles, and in the noodles you have your roast pork, crispy skin roast pork. So that's salty and fatty, right? And to complement that and to sort of cleanse the palate, you have something that, let's say it's a pickled carrot or pickled radish. And so you eat a little bit of this, eat a little bit of that, cleanses your palate, and you can keep going. You don't get so sick of it. So yeah, the food that we tasted in Ho Chi Minh was probably the moment when I started really enjoying the food in Vietnam. It's closer to what I grew up eating in Cabramatta, and also quite similar to what is like in Melbourne, in Springvale. Much more varied, much more balanced. That's where the food was at. It's not to say that I didn't like the food in Ho Chi Minh, in Hoi An. It's just that it became too much at a time. Which again, if I sort of mix it up a little bit, maybe things will have been different. But yeah, something to keep in mind, food in Vietnam is regional. Now, bear in mind guys, we only went to 2 places while we were in Vietnam, so my theory isn't really tested, but I did ask some locals, and they all tend to agree. So one thing that I noticed during my stay in Vietnam was that everyone was generally very nice, very friendly, and dare I say cheeky. I think there's something about the Vietnamese culture where they like to sort of poke fun at you. They like to have fun. So, and I like that. I think it sort of adds to the feeling of being included in some spaces. I honestly think that if you have the right attitude, and if you're respectful and not being a dick, then you could probably make a lot of friends in Vietnam. Most of the locals are very chatty and very happy to sort of just strike up a conversation. And once you introduce food and beer, then mate, it's pretty easy to make some really good friends. That's what I found anyways. Another thing that I noticed while I was in Vietnam, which I really liked, was that a lot of business owners and a lot of the people that we talked to, they were really keen on feedback, which I think is awesome, because it's not easy to receive feedback. But a lot of the places that we went to afterwards, they'll say, hey, how was the food? How's the service? What can we do to improve? Blah, blah, blah. And they seemed genuinely very, very happy to receive constructive feedback. And I was thinking about it, and I was just wondering why was this so? And I think I've come up with two reasons why I think this might be. So reason number one, and this is based around love languages. So it's very typical for Asian parents, or just Asians in general, to have acts of service as a love language. And I think that the Vietnamese people that we ran into, they were genuinely very happy to be able to provide good service. And I think that hospitality is legit like a source of pride and joy for them. So yeah, I think they were just generally very happy to be able to serve us. Now, number two, I think they probably also realize that we as consumers and as tourists can probably go anywhere for similar products. Like if it's, I don't know, like a hairdresser or a tailor or a restaurant, the market is so saturated and competition is very steep. So I think they're constantly thinking, all right, how can I one up everyone else in order to maintain business? So they're very savvy in that way. But I don't know, either way, I'm just sort of theorizing. Whichever way it is, I can definitely say that the people that we met in Vietnam were all very friendly, and they'll take good care of you. They might rip you off, but they'll take good care of you. Now, before we continue with the list, I would just like to take this time to ask you guys to please, if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Those 2 clicks from you will really help me out. I put a lot of time and effort in these videos, especially this one, with writing a script and filming and friggin' changing suits. This is actually the second time that I've recorded this video. The first time there was no audio at all. So yeah, I would really appreciate it if you guys took that time right now to like the video and hit that subscribe button. You can do it now, I'll wait. Just right there. Did you do it? Awesome. Alright, let's continue with the video. Alright, I'll definitely need a modesty pillow for this one. So, let's talk about money. Vietnam is so affordable. It's one of the best things about it. So, as of now, $1 Australian would be roughly around 15,000 dong. And to put things into perspective, you could buy your coffee for 10,000 dong, which is like what, 80 cents? Dinner, like a good meal on the street, would be 60,000 dong, so that's what, $4? You could catch a taxi from one end of the city to the other, and that'll cost you probably like $7 depending on the time of the night. Things are really affordable. So when you first arrive in Vietnam, you're going to be basically overwhelmed just by the money and all the things which are on sale, all the markets. People are going to come up to you and want to sell things to you. It's all going to be a lot. And then also, while you're doing that, you're also going to be thinking in your head and getting used to just sort of calculating the conversion rate between currencies. Something that I think you should definitely make a habit of doing is learning how to first say no, because they will actually, like, they know what they're doing. they will invite you into their store, tell you to sit down, give you a drink, and by the time, before you know it, you feel pressured to eat at a restaurant. So it's a good skill to have, to say no. Secondly, the skill that you have to get used to doing is haggling. So you'll soon realize when you're in Vietnam that if you don't necessarily look like a local, or if you look a little bit out of place, you're going to be a target. People are going to holler at you, they're going to jack up their prices, sometimes 3 or 4 times the original amount. And just as a way of reference, like, I was walking around and they knew that I was a tourist. So, I mean, if you're not Asian, then good luck, you're going to be a target. Here's a little story. So when I was in Hoi An, there was a t-shirt that I wanted to buy. The lady said 300,000 dong. So that's like what, 20 bucks? A little bit over 20 bucks. Not too bad, right? But I said no. I kept walking. She was chasing me. She was like, no, wait. 200,000. No, wait. 100,000. In a matter of seconds. If you're trying to buy something off someone, when the moment they pull out a calculator and they say, all right, how much? That's when the conversation starts. That is when you know you're not going to get ripped off. My tip to you guys is to not be afraid to massively lowball someone, because chances are they are massively highballing you. So as a rule of thumb, whatever the price is, pitch a quarter of the price. See how you go. What's the worst that could happen? They might say, no, that's ridiculous, I can't afford that. That's fine, you go from there. Aim low, build your way up. Of course, there's some places where it's not really like appropriate to haggle, but honestly, from what I've had a good think about it, because I've got a few friends who are traveling in Vietnam right now. There's not many places where I would say it's absolutely unacceptable to haggle. I think just make it a good habit. Whenever you buy something, just see if you can haggle it down a little bit, ask for a good deal. But at the end of the day, guys, my second tip is don't get so caught up in it, you know? Like, at the end of the day, you might be saving $1 or $2. So it's I don't know, like, personally, I feel like if I'm happy to buy something which I really like, which is going to be cheaper than what I would be able to get if I was back at home, even if I know that it's $1 or $2 more expensive here than somewhere else. Especially if I really like the person. If the person that's selling something to me is like a nice person, and they're kind and courteous, and they're not too forceful, and I just like them as a person, why not? Like, I'm happy to, like, $2 from me is gonna probably make their day. The conversion rate is crazy. $2 will buy them dinner. So that's also something to bear in mind. While we're on that subject, tipping. So I'm not sure if there's any Americans watching, but tipping is not really a thing. You will get some taxi drivers who will sort of drop you off and then hang around. Like, they might sort of check their tires or adjust their mirrors, or they might even just say like bye and just like look at you expectantly, hoping that you're an American. But yeah, you don't have to tip. In saying that, if you want to tip, go for it. Again, if you like them, if they've given you advice or some recommendations and you want to tip them, you can tip them. I find that 50,000 or 100,000 dong will be a good tip. Don't tip more than that, because again, like, if you tip too much, they might see you as a target. So yeah, but rule of thumb, you don't really have to tip. Also, as a side note, if you're nervous about carrying all these things around with you, I would recommend just withdrawing cash, just little bits at a time. So I think every time we went to an ATM, we took out like 100,000 or 200,000 dong each time, and just carry a card around. Like, the ATM's there. Yes, you'll pay international fees. We were lucky because I think we're with Bank of Queensland and they refunded the international fees, but we just found it easier to do that. In saying that, I did lose my wallet, but it was pretty easy to just cancel all the cards. So let's address the 6 elephants in the room. If you're going to Vietnam and if you're dropping by Hoi An, you're probably interested in getting some custom garments made. We went to a place called BB Tailor and we spent way too much. Honestly, I could probably make an entire different video just talking about my experience at BB Tailor, and I might. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. But for those who haven't caught on yet, every suit that I wore in this video was tailor-made for me in Vietnam. So I've got some tips for you guys if you are also interested in getting some clothes made. So one of the first things you should probably know about Hoi An is that it's known as the Silk Road of Vietnam. People travel there to get their clothes made. They are known for their tailors and for their fabrics. Now in Hoi An there's tailors everywhere, and you have your shit tailors, and then you have your premium pricey tailors. My tip for you would be to ask around. So ask your taxi drivers or ask your hotel staff. They're probably good people to talk to. We went to BB Tailor. They're the most established tailor in Hoi An. So they've got 4 shops, I'm pretty sure. 2 of them are in Hoi An. So if you walk past a BB2, then don't worry, they're legit. And yeah, they're professional. The stitching and the garments are all really well made. The fabrics are good, and they're very expensive. And they'll openly tell you, we are more expensive than everyone else, and we do that for a good reason. So it really depends on your price range, guys, and just shop to how you feel you should works best for you. Personally, I think if you're getting a suit made, if you're getting anything tailor-made, then quality is probably something that you should be looking at. But then again, you do you. Alright, so this whole process of getting your clothes made can be very daunting and very overwhelming. So I'm going to try and break it down for you of what you should and what you shouldn't do. First off, how much does it cost? A suit like this, well, a typical suit at BB can cost you anything from $150 to $280. And your tailor will tell you, like, they'll be open with it. They'll show you all of the fabrics and all the materials, and they say, alright, this is the shit one that's going to cost you $150. this is the premium cashmere, silk, I don't know, whatever. This is the premium stuff, this is the good shit, and that's gonna break your bank, and you get to pick. I was a sucker for quality, so everything that I ended up picking was on the high end. But you can also pick and choose. If you want to, you can get your jacket made in a high quality fabric than your pants. I'm not sure why you'd want to do that, but you could do that. Something else that you should probably know, and it's something that we only found out like once we were way too deep in the process, and I wish that we knew sooner. BB, like many tailors, they work in USD. Yeah, so we were getting our stuff made, and we thought, all right, we're spending $2,000 on this, not too bad. We end up paying like $4,000. So yeah, just something to keep in mind, guys. Figure out your budget, try to stick to it, and yeah, just spend responsibly. All right, so tip number 3, do your research and try not to get overwhelmed. And I guarantee you are probably going to get overwhelmed. So guys, you're probably getting suits made, right? It's good to do some research. It's not as arduous if you were a woman or if you were a lady. I'll tell you why. So suits are fairly straightforward. The tailors know 99% of what to do, and it's really just fitting it to your body type. For ladies, if you're getting a dress made, or I don't know, like a blouse, there's a lot of things to consider. So I really recommend that you do your research. Go on Pinterest, find some dresses that you like, or at least know what works for your body type. So know what type of neckline you like, how you want the sleeves. Do you want them oversized? Do you want it up a little bit higher? How long do you want your sleeves? Do you want them to sort of balloon out? What details? Do you want like a pussy bow, or do you want like a little collar? Think about hem length, how you want the hem. Just little details here and there, because you can show them a dress. You can show them 2 different dresses and they'll sort of fuse it together. You can say, oh, I want the neckline of this one, but I like how this one falls around the waist, for example. I don't know. So the process for ladies is a lot more detailed, and yeah, it would be really handy if you at least knew what direction you wanted to go. Alright, final tip. Don't get suckered in like me. I got 6 suits made. 6 suits and 2 shirts. And I work as a personal trainer. Like, when am I going to be wearing this? Vicky got a whole wardrobe made, but she's been wearing them like daily. So she's getting her money's worth out of it. You're probably wondering, how did it get to this? How did I get 6 suits made? They're going to give you a deal. So when I went there, they said, all right, make 5 suits and you get your 6th one for free. And when they told me that, I was like, why the hell would I get 6 suits? But just throughout the process, like when you're picking out colors and everything, it's really fun. You go like, oh, I like this one, and they just bookmark it for you, and you end up having like 20 different fabrics, and then you try everything on, and before you know it, like, I think I had 4 suits which I wanted, and then at that point, I was like, oh, I might as well just get a 5th one, and at that point I'll get another one for free. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. Spend sensibly, don't be like us, but yeah, just do what's right for you, what's right for your situation. Also, something else to consider, I don't wear suits that often. Like, even if I were to work in an office, you don't have to just get suits, guys. I wish that I didn't get everything so formal. Like, next time my friends have a wedding, I'm set. But for everything else, like, you could get coats made. I wish I got maybe a suede bomber jacket, or like a suede jacket of some sort. Yeah, it doesn't have to be a suit. So again, just do your research, have a look around and see what else is on the market, what else you would like to buy, because they can make it. They said they could make kimonos. So yeah, that's just something to consider. And look, this brings me to my final point. I think at the end of the day, it's definitely worth it. I think. Like, it's a tailor-made garment for your body. the process was really fun. It was draining, but it was really fun. The staff were very professional. They were very efficient. They knew what they were doing. My tailor was really fun to work with. She kept pinching my butt, but in a very professional way, a very tasteful way. So it was okay. It was good. Did we spend too much? Probably, but I like all my suits, and as long as I keep my body shape for the next 20 years, I think I'll make my money back. So I guess what I'm trying to say is just have a think about how much you want to spend, and just keep that in mind. Make sure that you go in there prepared, and if you want something that's good quality and something that like feels really good to wear, like this suit that I'm wearing, I love it. It feels so lovely just to wear this. I think it's worth it. So that's my thoughts on it. How you spend your money is completely up to you. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I could honestly talk about my Vietnam trip forever. And if you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can make part 2. So if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're interested. As I said, like any contribution to growing this channel would really help me out, and I'd really appreciate it. Let me know what you thought of this video, guys. Let me know if you agree with what I've said about Vietnam. Heck, even if you disagree, let me know in the comments below. Maybe we can start a little fight, and that'll be good for the algorithm. But yeah, I'm genuinely interested in hearing different perspectives. I know that the Vietnam that we saw was definitely very food oriented, and we didn't really go out and see most of the touristy things, but that's just how we travel. So I'd really love to hear everyone else's perspective on this. Also, let me know in the comments what you think of the suits. Tell me which one's your favorite suit, and also I want you guys to guess which one was the add-on, which one was the suit which I made as an afterthought just because I wanted a free suit. So guys, if you made it this far, thank you very much. My name is Alan, and that was 6 things that I learned from my Vietnam trip. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.